I hope all of you are having spectacular Tuesdays, no matter where you may be across the country or around the world. College football playoff fallout continues as Notre Dame is throwing a fit, as if they somehow didn't realize that they were potentially not going to make the college football playoff. I would encourage you maybe watch OutKick the show, maybe pay attention to my Twitter feed. You would have known that the battle was real and that you were in tenuous territory. We got Australia banning 16-year-olds from social media. I've got an interesting take on that. Phillip Rivers, 44 years old, back in the mix. Utah, $500 million private equity deal. Ketanji Brown-Jackson is a mess. Jasmine Crockett's running for the Senate. All of these different things to run into with all of you. But we begin with what I would say is the number one story out there right now, which is Notre Dame is angry they didn't make the college football playoff, and they are throwing a fit, and they want everybody to know all about it. And they keep saying, well, there was no way we could have possibly known that we were potentially going to miss the playoff. And I say to that, how could you not have known? It was self-evident when the next two last college football playoff rankings came out. When Alabama went to 9 and jumped over you, all you had to do was watch me analyze it. All you had to do was see my tweets. It was evident that if BYU lost, that there was not going to be a gap between Notre Dame and Miami. And the College Football Playoff Committee, for better or worse, had been saying for weeks, when they're not side by side, we don't think head-to-head dictates. In other words, as Notre Dame was above Miami and as Miami was climbing, they were constantly saying, until they're in close proximity to each other, we're not going to have head-to-head dictate. Now, if you want to argue that there shouldn't be College Football Playoff Committee rankings at all, I actually agree with you. I would actually sit back and say, you know what? That's a logical perspective. It makes good sense. But if you are going to argue with me that you didn't have any idea that you might miss the college football playoff, all I have to say to you is that's on you, not the College Football Playoff Committee. The College Football Playoff Committee got it 100% right, given the parameters of choices that they had to make. They had to take Tulane. They had to take James Madison. Neither one of those teams belong in the college football playoff, but they had to take them. The other 10 teams, the only tiny quibble I have is I would have had Georgia 2 and Ohio State 3. I understand Ohio State 2 and Georgia 3. You can argue that Texas A&M should have been above Ole Miss, right? Like, there are little quibbles that we can all get into in individual rankings. But when it comes down to Notre Dame and Miami, head-to-head dictated. And if you want to be treated as others are treated, join a conference. I don't understand why Notre Dame thinks, irrespective of what every other school in the entire country is doing, we don't need to join a conference at all. And then they expect to be treated better than everybody else. I looked at Notre Dame, the Notre Dame AD, let's pull him up. And I respect the fact that the Notre Dame AD has an argument to make. He is not an independent arbiter here. He is not a without agency. He's an advocate for his team, which I understand and respect. He's basically an agent for he's a lawyer. He's making the case for Notre Dame and why they should be in. But let me hit you with this before I play his cut. He said Notre Dame was dominant in the final 10 weeks of the season against an awful Purdue team, against an awful Arkansas team, against a mediocre at best Boise State and NC State team. I'll give them credit. USC top 20-ish caliber win. Boston College was awful. Navy is not very good relative to standards of being a playoff team. Pitt got smoked the final couple weeks of the season. Syracuse's quarterback got injured. There was nothing there. Stanford was awful. What is this unbelievable roster of 10-week dominance that they're talking about? This is not actually true at all. So let me tell you some of what he said. Among other things, he's angry at the ACC. And he has said quite a lot about the fact that they are angry that they were mystified by the actions of the conference to attack their biggest partner in football. They have certainly done permanent damage to the relationship between the conference and Notre Dame. That's what the athletic director says. Then join another conference. If you're unhappy and you think there's permanent damage that's been done by the ACC, then play more than 5 conference games, sack up and join a conference. I'm sorry. I don't understand why Notre Dame should be treated differently than every other program in America. The Big Ten plays 9 conference games. We're going to have 9 conference games from the SEC. The ACC is going to play 9 conference games. The Big 12, I believe, is going to be playing 9 conference games. Why in the world is everybody else out there held to a different standard than Notre Dame? Here is the athletic director. Here is what he said earlier in a news conference that he called for, I believe, 12 p.m. Eastern today. Watch.
But what we were really surprised by and disappointed was how the ACC conference really went on a social media campaign, in my opinion, attacking our football program. Miami had done that and they didn't. I get it, all's fair. There's a great rivalry, decades-long rivalry between Notre Dame and Miami. And that's the spirit of the universities and the football programs and fandom, and that's what makes college football special, whether it's Notre Dame Miami, Notre Dame USC, Michigan, Ohio State. But we felt this was different, and it raised a lot of eyebrows. And we made our feelings known that we didn't particularly understand this, and it just kind of puzzled us that a conference that's home to over 600 of our student athletes walking around this campus today, I guess chose to go down that road. I guess intellectually I understand it, but I certainly don't agree with it.
Notre Dame is a 6 that thinks she is a 10. That is the best way to sum up Notre Dame athletics right now. You haven't won a national title since 1988. Most of your fan base doesn't actually care that much about college football. They're East Coast people who occasionally tune in because they were fans in 1965, all right? If Notre Dame wants me to take them seriously, sack up and join the Big Ten. Sack up and join the ACC. Sack up and join the SEC. Heck, sack up and join the Big 12. Play a conference schedule of real, live, good, constant competition, and then potentially have to play a conference championship game. You are not the victims here, okay? And I give credit to Clark Lee for spelling that out, but Notre Dame, you haven't been that relevant. Last year you had a good year. I actually like Marcus Freeman. I respect the history of Notre Dame football, but Rudy was offsides, and right now you're a 6 who thinks she's a 10, okay? If you suddenly said, we're not playing college football anymore, college football ratings wouldn't change very much. Everybody would say, okay, we'll keep watching all the other games. You're bragging about stepping out of a bowl game. I've seen people say, well, Notre Dame, why would they even give ESPN any money? Shut up. You don't impact anything. The ratings aren't going to change very much. You have the right to play or not play in a bowl game. But ESPN isn't going to lose money because you're not doing this. You're only cutting off your own nose to spite your face. And you're actually making yourselves way less likable. There's always a team that is upset that they did not make the college football playoff. Most of them deal with it, even if they're angry, and decide that they are going to try and come back next year and make the playoff. In fact, Clark Lee was on with OutKick's Hot Mic show. Literally, this is the best season in the history of Vanderbilt football. Since they started playing football, they've never had a better year. They've never won 10 games in the regular season. They've never had a chance to win 11. BYU can be angry. Notre Dame can be angry. Utah can be angry. Texas can be angry. All of them have had better years. The team that deserves more than any other, I think, to be angry and embittered by the process is actually Vanderbilt and Clark Lee. Never in the history of the program has Vanderbilt been better. They only lost on the road to Alabama and Texas. They beat Missouri. They beat LSU. They beat Tennessee. They went 6-2 in conference. The best record they've ever had, and it still wasn't good enough. If anybody could have been embittered and angry and upset about the way that they were treated, it would have been Notre Dame. It would have been Vanderbilt. How did they handle it? Compare this answer to what you just saw from Notre Dame.
Did you even need to hold a vote?
A vote in terms
to play
of
the bowl game. I mean, you guys are Pavi's playing, right?
Yes, I don't. There's no hesitation.
Yeah.
This group, look, and I think obviously we got some highly regarded draft prospects, and we got to, I want to be respectful of their process too. But when it comes to our program and our team, this team likes playing football, and this is what we get is a chance to play one more game together. The other thing too embedded in this is, we're gonna get 20 extra days of work, and now we won't work all 20, but let's call it 15. I mean, that's not insignificant when you're talking about developing the foundation of your roster and getting reps to guys that haven't had a chance to be out there as much this season. I think that's a huge advantage to these bowl opportunities. And in this place, man, we like playing football and we like each other, and so it's just a chance to hang out around the game we love. And we're not going to miss out on that opportunity.
Compare that. Tell me which one is better from your perspective with how to handle disappointment when it comes to the program. Take your ball and go home, or say, hey, we could have been better. We could have won the games that we lost, and we deserve the opportunity to work harder, and it's on us. We're not victims here. Good for him. By the way, I got a winner here for you. PrizePicks pays out at 6-1. Simple, easy to follow, just touchdown passes from quarterbacks. Tua, more than 1/2 touchdown pass. Dak, more than 1.5 touchdown passes. Sam Darnold, more than 1.5 touchdown passes. Bryce Young, more than 1.5. Shedeur Sanders, more than 1/2. 5 different quarterbacks: Tua, Dak, Sam Darnold, Bryce Young, and Shedeur Sanders, all to throw more touchdown passes than their number. Click more. If all 5 of these hit, it pays out at 6-1. If you go to PrizePicks right now, download the app. You can also go to PrizePicks.com. If you go there, you put in this, pays out at 6-1. When you play $5, you get $50. You can play in California. You can play in Georgia. You can play in Texas. 40-plus states, 13 million people playing. If you're feeling left out, have a little bit more fun with PrizePicks. That's PrizePicks.com. Code OutKick. PrizePicks.com. Use code OutKick for $50 when you get hooked up. All right, let's dive into a couple of more stories out there. I want to play this. Jasmine Crockett has announced that she is running for for Senate in the state of Texas as a Democrat. Her entire opening campaign message is Trump pointing out the fact that she's not very smart, and this is somehow what she thinks is going to appeal to a state where Trump won overwhelmingly in 2024. Watch Jasmine Crockett's campaign announcement video.
How about this new one they have? Their new star, Crockett. How about her? She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man, oh, man. She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
Okay, Jasmine Crockett was also asked, do you need Trump voters to win? She said she did not. Trump just won the state of Texas 56-42. Okay? He won Texas by a larger margin than Kamala won New York. Let me repeat that. Texas was a closer presidential election state in 2024 than New York was. New York was closer to being red than Texas was to being blue. Announcing you are running for the Senate by featuring the most popular politician in Texas calling you a moron is a sign to me that you are not actually trying to win an election. All you're trying to do is get a media job. Look, Jasmine Crockett makes $178,000 a year as a congressperson right now. She wants to live as a rich person. Go look at all the campaign dollars she spends on high-end hotels, on private security, on private jet flights, all of these different things. I don't begrudge anyone spending a lot of money on hotels or a lot of money on security or a lot of money on plane flights. I do that. Do you know the difference between me and Jasmine Crockett? I spend my own money to do it. I'm not trying to get a job so that I can then use what other people give me as a reason to be able to make a living. And so for all of you out there, this is not Jasmine. Go ahead and clip this, share it as widely as possible. Jasmine Crockett, if she is the nominee for the Democrat Party, is going to lose by double digits in the state of Texas in 2026. She knows it. Democrat Party is terrified that she is the nominee. They don't want her to be the nominee because she's a far left-wing loon, but that is where we are headed, that she potentially is going to be the choice there. This is not about winning. This is about losing, in fact, so she can get a media job, which pays her more money so that she can run for president in 2028. That's where all this is heading, by the way. I'm wearing this shirt, in case you're wondering, Unk and owning it, because it's not UNC. My kids have been calling me an unk lately because I'm an old guy now, old man with all these different strong opinions. So producer Allie on the Clay and Buck show got me this shirt. Phillip Rivers, 44 years old, joining the Colts after 5 years of retirement. The Colts have had issues with health for certainly Daniel Jones, who tore his Achilles and is out for the season, and for their backup, Notre Dame guy, whatever his name was, if you can remind me of what his name was. He's got a tweak right now, too. So it's possible Phillip Rivers, retired for 5 years, is going to come out of retirement and play for the Colts. I'm actually looking forward to that. Riley Leonard, of course, from Duke to Notre Dame as the quarterback there, who was the backup that's also injured. I can't wait to see how this is going to go. Australia. This is a super interesting story. I'll get to that in a sec. Utah has decided, according to multiple reports, to take $500 million in private equity and basically turn their athletic department into a for-profit venture. This is where everything is headed. We're going to see, I think, rapid reordering of college athletics on a scale that many still do not comprehend. And it is going to fundamentally alter the way that college football is set up. College football, the money that actually comes in is lower than it should be. I say that honestly. College football and college athletics in general, but college football, let's just focus on college football, is the second most popular sport in America. The NFL is number one by a large margin. Second most popular sport in America is college football. There then is a big drop-off to the third most popular sport in America, which is probably the NBA. And it's a huge drop-off to the NBA, although I would argue Major League Baseball, seasons longer, audiences are bigger. I'd probably argue baseball's third. If you look at television ratings, college basketball is actually more popular than the NBA, but I was looking at pro sports. Anyway, it's football, 1 and 2, NFL and college football, and we're going to see a lot more of what Utah is doing, which is taking the private equity money. A couple of different stories here before I go. We're doing, by the way, the OutKick show, as we always do, on the Wednesday edition of FS1. Ketanji Brown Jackson. I would be a better Supreme Court justice than Ketanji Brown Jackson is. I am not saying that I would be a great Supreme Court justice. I'm not saying that people would sit around and say, you know who's the greatest opinion writer in the history of the United States? Clay Travis. Do you know who has a more perceptive grasp of complex, nuance issues that have to be finally addressed at the highest court of the land? Clay Travis. I'm not saying anybody would say that. I am saying I'd be better than Ketanji Brown Jackson. I think Ketanji Brown Jackson is a politician wearing robes. If she wanted to be a governor, if she wanted to be a senator, she could make the arguments that she is making. She seems to lack a basic comprehension of the job of a judge and doesn't seem to have the wherewithal to accurately analyze issues from a legal perspective. She, like Jasmine Crockett, appears to have a job that she does not want and would rather have a different job. Let me just say this. I also question whether she's even legally appointed as a Supreme Court justice. Some of you are going to say, oh my God, Clay, what are you talking about there? Joe Biden said, I'm going to pick a black woman to be my nominee for the Supreme Court. That's actually illegal. I don't know why more people don't talk about this, but you can't say, I'm only going to pick someone of a certain race or a certain gender and then give them the job based on their race and gender being a hiring criteria. I don't know why more people don't talk about this. Under Supreme Court jurisprudence, Ketanji Brown Jackson wouldn't be able to have many different jobs in the federal government. I don't think it's legal for the President of the United States to say, I'm only going to appoint someone of a certain race and a certain gender. Remember, in so doing, Joe Biden excluded 97% of all lawyers in America because only around 3% of lawyers in America are black women. If that is going to be the standard which you apply, I don't understand how that is remotely legal. And so I've never heard anybody else talk about this, but under actual Supreme Court jurisprudence, I don't think Ketanji Brown Jackson is even lawfully appointed to the Supreme Court because I think her appointment breaks actual Supreme Court logic here when it comes to the race and also the gender of her as an appointee. All right, finally, I actually think this is a super interesting story. Australia has banned all teenagers under the age of 16 years old from being able to have social media accounts. Now, this is a big picture discussion, and I think it's going to spread many different places because you've seen a lot of schools decide that kids can't have cell phones inside of the schools, and the results have actually been very positive. I think that this is the right call. And some of you out there are going to say, oh, you're crazy, Clay. What are you talking about? I think that we regularly restrict people from being able to do things based on their age. And I understand that kids are going to cheat and they're going to put their ages in differently and they all think they need to be on social media. And look, for our household, we didn't let them have cell phones until 14. I think that was one of the best decisions we've made. Almost every kid that our kids knew had a cell phone before they were 14. We restricted them until that age. I actually think it's healthy to keep kids off social media until 16. We don't let kids get driver's license until 16. We don't let them vote until they're 18. We don't let them get alcohol until they're 21. I actually think driving a car is a privilege that probably we are giving kids too young, honestly, if you look at the rates of danger associated with 16-year-olds. But I think certainly keeping kids off social media is the right call. In years ahead, I think when we look at the mental and psychological damage that kids are getting from social media, I think we're going to see more and more that it should be restricted to adults. And look, we didn't let kids buy Playboy magazines until 18 years old. I don't think it's crazy to think, hey, maybe we shouldn't let kids be able to get on social media until they're 16 years old. I actually think this is something that Australia got right. All right. I love all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I am Clay Travis, and this is OutKick, the show. And I hope all of you are having a fantastic early start to the holiday season. You can watch me tomorrow on FS1, and you can watch me tonight on Sean Hannity's show. This has been, and you listen to me, I'm looking forward, by the way, I'm going to be in Birmingham tomorrow. I'm a keynote speaker. We're raising, hopefully, a bunch of money for their end-of-the-year quarterback club. Hundreds of you are going to be there. Hope to see a bunch of you there. So I'll be there, and then I'll be down in South Florida, going all over the place. Like I said, DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I'll see a bunch of you tomorrow in Birmingham. This has been OutKick, the show.